Divine Mother's Love. Paramahansa Yogananda wrote, quote, "Every mother is a manifestation of God's unconditional love, though human mothers are imperfect, and the Divine Mother is perfect." He also said, "My mother was everything to me. My joys rose and set in the firmament of her presence." After his mother's passing, Yogananda was inconsolable until he had a vision of Divine Mother. He wrote, quote, "Haloed in splendor, the Divine Mother stood before me. Her face tenderly smiling was beauty itself. In celestial tones her words rang out, 'Always have I loved thee, ever shall I love thee.'" St. John Vianney once said, "If you knew how much God loves you, you would die for joy." God reveals his unconditional love, especially through the many manifestations of Divine Mother. In India, she comes to her devotees as Kali, or as one of the many other goddesses. In Europe and in the West, she usually appears as Mary. Millions have found solace and healing through her apparitions. At Lourdes and Fatima, countless pilgrims have received blessings. In Medjugorje, she has been appearing since 1981 and still comes daily to Maria, one of the visionaries. A friend who was fortunate enough to be in the room during one of those apparitions shared, "Everything became absolutely still. No street noises, not even birds singing. During the appearance, which only Maria could see, there was an amazingly powerful presence and a great flow of energy and blessing in the spine." We are currently in Seville, Spain, where the bodies of Ferdinand III and Alfonso X reside. There is strong evidence to show that these were 13th century incarnations of Paramahansa Yogananda and Swami Kriyananda. In that lifetime, both were deeply spiritual. As well as great warriors who fought to return the land to Christianity, Ferdinand, Master, so loved and trusted the Divine Mother that for more than 20 years he rode into battle with a small statue of Mary attached to his saddle. With Divine Mother as his protector, he was never defeated. This age is badly out of balance. The angry, divisive, power-mad energy needs to be replaced with unconditional love. One of the best ways each of us can help the world is to open our hearts to Divine Mother in meditation and offer her love, friendship, and support to everyone we meet. Swami Kriyananda was, like Yogananda, deeply blessed by his earthly mother. While she was pregnant with him, she prayed repeatedly, "Lord, this first child I give to thee." A friend once saw him resting with his eyes closed beside a pool. As she approached, he opened his eyes and said softly, "I miss my mother." Another time, in Sorrento, friends accompanied Swamiji into an art gallery. He stood transfixed before one painting, tears streaming down his face. The next day they returned, and again he gazed at the same painting, his eyes filled with tears. Later he gifted the painting, which we've attached, to these friends, saying, "This is how Divine Mother loves every one of us." I expect that his words that day by the pool carried a deeper meaning, that he was longing not only for his earthly mother, but also for his Divine Mother. For that longing was the story of his life and of Yogananda's as well. As they longed for their Divine Mother, so too must we, so must we. In Divine Mother's arms, Nayaswamis Jyotish. This is a beautiful theme. As I said, Devi and I are in Sevilla, just having arrived today. Earlier this week, we've been having a pilgrimage in Spain, and we visited sites associated with Saint Teresa of Avila and Saint John of the Cross, whose body resides in nearby Segovia. The experiences of these two saints, it was beautiful. Both of them were deeply reverent to the Divine Mother in the form of Mary, and both of them were very deep mystics. I'm convinced that they're part of our line of great saints that experienced the deep inner communion with God. And in fact, I firmly believe that both Saint Teresa and Saint John of the Cross were deep yogis in past lives who incarnated in this life to bring a deep inner communion with God back into Christianity. Master himself, in a former lifetime, in the lifetime of Ferdinand, was not only a deep disciple of Mother Mary, but also probably had a connection with St. Francis, even met St. Francis in that life. And he really thought of himself not as a king, even though he was one of Spain's greatest kings. He thought of himself not as a king, but as a monk. And when he died, he took off his crown and had himself dressed in the robes of a monk. And so there's this deep inner connection between our line, Master, and these great yogis, but also a deep connection with Christianity and the deep love of the Divine Mother in the form of Mother Mary, of the Mother of Jesus. In this life, of course, Master was born in India, and his mother, along with him, they worshipped Kali. She was on the altar, which is India's representation of the Divine Mother. It's not necessary to go into which form and what time period a great soul uses to worship the Divine Mother. The real important point here is that Divine Mother is that quality of God's unconditional love and support that we can connect to and call on. Master said the mother is closer than the father. And so we who yearn to have a deep connection with God should have a connection with some form of Divine Mother. Certainly in meditation, we should offer ourselves into her arms and cry out as the beautiful chant goes, "Take me on thy lap, O Mother. Take me on thy lap, O Mother." And so we should just offer ourselves unconditionally into God in the form of Divine Mother. God bless you.